hello everybody, and welcome to the I Feed the Vibes. Out here going crazy. We're going ham, we are going ham. And we're especially going ham in this one because today is Wednesday. We're doing the Immaculate 5 movie review number 1. And I know I've done movie reviews on multiple different movies before, but this is the first movie review for this subsection of the channel. So today we are movie reviewing The Iron Claw with Zac Efron, the guy from Shameless, and a couple other actors I don't know the name of. But there's a couple other bigger actors in there that I just can't wrap my head around what their name is, and I'm not gonna look it up because this is the vibe checks on these movies. You know, this isn't like, oh, let's get down to the gritty. Like, and again, I will always do this in my movie reviews. If you've seen my previous ones, I'll tell you straight off the bat with no spoilers if you should go watch the movie or if you should not go watch the movie and what's the rating. I will give this movie 9.5 out of 10. Go watch that movie. From here on out, there will be spoilers. So again, 9 out of 10. Go watch that freaking movie and then come back in. Let's analyze this shit. Alright. The Iron Claw looks over the Von Erichs. Now, I had no idea who these wrestling god boys are. Apparently the creator of what we know now as the WWE was the father. They called him he was like a wrestler way back in the day, one of like the most, famous wrestlers from his era. And he was known for like getting, people's attention by doing things out of pocket, like wearing a Nazi cape and mask and wrestling in the ring with it, which is crazy. That's unheard of. But me not being into wrestling like at all, I never knew about these guys. So excuse me, none of the Von Erichs I knew anything about. But basically, the father created the WCCW, I think, which is like I don't know what it stands for, but I think that's what it was called. And he had multiple boys. Now, in the movie, they don't show the youngest son killing himself, and that's basically what this movie is. It's a very sad story. But first off, they introduce the brothers, all of them, and then they say, they show how awesome they are wrestling, and they kind of go into every little brother's little hobbies that they enjoy, like their personality, which is why this movie is so great. They get you feeling like you know these people, which is exactly what their intentions were, because back in the 80s and really early 90s, even up to the later 90s, I think these kids, even in the 70s when they were all born and all this and that, they were being followed by cameras everywhere they went. So if you were from their area or anywhere remotely like in the WCCW, you knew who these guys are just because you were growing up with them as they're growing up watching them on TV, so you felt like you were part of the family. And that's what the movie does best. It makes you feel like you are a part of these people's family. Now, they make the dad out in this movie to be a complete arrogant asshole, which I think in real life he was, no emotions. The dad would force, with his agent, he would force certain kids to go do wrestling who weren't the best at wrestling, and then bad things would happen to him. One of the kids, I can't, there's so many of them, I can't even think about all their names, but one of the kids, went out and after his brother died and was forced, I think his name was Mike Von Erich or whatever, and he was a skinnier, scrawnier guy, forced to go out there in the ring by his dad and brother, and it was an honor in his mind to go do this, but he went out and pulled his shoulder or broke his shoulder or something like that, and then later killed himself. So because he went into something, I forget what they call it, but something shock. But let's go back to where I'm at. So the dad's an arrogant asshole. Zac Efron's character is technically the oldest brother. They state, or he states to the woman that he marries early on in the movie that he is not the oldest, that there was an older son, and the so all this bad stuff was happening, and it looked like the curse was true. And that's what the new oldest brother was worried about, was that the curse was true. So he was very fearful about this curse and really thought it was true. And if I was in his shoes, I would think it's true too. But basically, he states that this guy's a sweetheart, the oldest brother. Like, he doesn't want any harm to go, to anyone's way. He's a real country boy, is what they make it seem like. And then the brother, he would wrestle with him and the brother that's under him, like, in age. And they would wrestle all the time, and they finally, if I'm remembering correctly, they finally got a shot at the heavyweight, and it was supposed to be the oldest brother to go get it, but instead the dad decided that it would be the second oldest brother to go fight for the heavyweight against Ric Flair. But before, he had to go and do his own tour to get the hype up for this heavyweight championship, and the oldest brother was real upset about it, real jealous. He had a lot of envy for his younger brother, and was upset about it, clearly because he was the one that was supposed to go out and get it before anybody else was. And so, of course, he was happy for his brother, but as anybody else in his shoes would be very envious. Well, his brother ended up going to Japan and ended up having I think his stomach burst or something like that. His appendix burst and passed away. But they still wanted to keep, his name alive, and they still wanted to keep the Von Erichs alive. And the dad decided that the third youngest, two siblings down from the oldest was gonna go and fight Ric Flair. And this enraged, just completely mind boggled the oldest son. He could not believe that he was gonna, he got stood up by one of his youngest brothers was gonna go and fight Ric Flair for the heavyweight. Well, he fought Ric Flair and won. So now his name is Poppin. This kid's name is Poppin. The oldest son's he's really excited for him. After the championship, he's really happy for his brother. He's actually, at this point in the movie, makes you feel like he actually is genuinely excited and happy for his brother. And his brother, dealing with the passing of the other brother, not being able to deal with it properly, he goes and gets on his motorcycle, and they don't show what exactly happens, but he basically gets in a crash where he loses his leg. And this is the brother that turns into the Texas Tornado or something like that in the WWE. And he did end up going to the WWE and fighting, so he lost his leg. So you have the oldest son way back in, I think, the 70s, maybe even the 80s, whenever they were born, died. And then you have it's all very confusing, trust me, because there's so many different brothers. But then you have one brother dead, another brother dead, you have another brother gets in a motorcycle accident and gets his leg cut off. So now the oldest brother has none of his brothers to fight with besides Mike, and Mike is the only one I can think of, his name for some reason. So Mike is fighting with the oldest brother, and the oldest brother is starting to lose, faith and hope in the sport, because all the fun was, facing off with his brothers and beating the crap out of all these guys, and not having all of his brothers there, and then having to fight by himself, and then having Mike in the ring with him. Well, Mike gets his own fight, and Mike, like I said before, pulls his shoulder, breaks his shoulder, has to have immediate surgery. That night he goes and gets the surgery. Well, he gets something, they called it something shock. And basically he went in a coma and lost some of his brain function. So he was almost acting a couple years behind. And they didn't say how long he was alive for before he did this, but basically one night everybody was gone doing something, and he was listening to music. He was a guitar player and a lead singer, and he was playing his guitar and all that, and he finally wanted to off himself, I guess, and took a bunch of pills and left a note saying he's going to a better place, and walked off in the woods, and later died from an overdose. So he killed himself. So now you have 3 brothers dead, 1 lost a leg, and now we're just down in real life down to 3 brothers. In the movie, you're down to 2 brothers, and some years go by, and they show that the WCCW was brought down to the oldest son. So now the dad's retired out of the wrestling area, and the oldest son, basically, he lost all faith in the sport. He doesn't like it anymore. He sells it to the guy who would create the WWE. Basically, he turned the WCCW into the WWE, and the Texas Tornado. So the other brother went and fought with the WWE for a while, and I guess he as well was, losing his mind, and couldn't cope with all the death around him. He felt like the curse was gonna get him too. He calls the oldest brother and calls him and says, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't do it. The curse has got me. So then he calls his dad and tells him, hey, the Texas Tornado, because I can't think of his name, that's what we're going to call him, the Texas Tornado is going to be at the house at some point. Be on the lookout for him, be watching for him. He's not in the right mindset, he's not thinking straight. So he goes to bed, and he wakes up and instantly drives over to their parents' house, and he goes to the parents' house, and he's looking for his brother. His brother's car is there, and he walks inside for 2 seconds because the door was open, and he hears a gunshot. He looks around, and his brother's laying by a tree and shot himself. And then he sees his dad, and he's all mad at his dad for not looking out for him, not looking for him, this and that. And so now you have all these brothers dead, and in real life, the oldest son that was still alive is the last remaining son, because in real life there was technically the one that died when he was 4, that's one oldest son, the one that died, one that lost his leg, the other one that died, and then so there's 6 sons, and out of 6 there's only 1, and then in the movie there's 5 sons, but because I read it and the director said it'd just be too repetitive to keep having everyone killing themselves, but in real life the youngest son killed himself. So basically 5 of the sons killed themselves, and then the dad just never even seemed to give a shit about any of it. He was like, deal with it yourself, basically the whole movie. And it's crazy that it's a real story. But I did forget to mention that before he sold the WCCW, and before he, lost passion, he did go fight Ric Flair in the infamous Iron Claw. He puts it down on Ric Flair's face, and he's so mad, all of this tragic loss in his life, and he actually goes into Ric Flair's skull, or like his face, and makes him bleed. And there's that image of him, with the bloody hand going like that, and Ric Flair having the blood pouring down his face. And they showed them having an exchange in the locker room, being like, dude, I'll fight you any day of the week, you're a crazy son of a bitch, And, if anybody doesn't know who Ric Flair is, he's Ric Flair drip go whoa on a bit, you know what I'm saying? Like, Ric Flair, and he's crazy, man, he's crazy. But yeah, I mean, the movie was amazing, it was immaculate. The vibes were sad, man. The vibes were sad. I will say that the vibes were very sad, but the way they directed it, the way it was shot, it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful, absolutely stunning. I could not believe how beautiful this movie was. The way they told the story, it was awesome. I do wish that they added the youngest son, but I do kind of see it in the movie standpoint be very, very repetitive. I do recommend, if you guys stuck around and didn't watch it but wanted to hear what was going on with the movie, I appreciate you staying, but you gotta go watch it, man. It's a really good movie. It should still be in theaters right now. By the time this analyzed version comes out, it might be out of theaters, so you might be able to purchase it on like Prime or HBO, whatever it comes out on. But yeah, man, it was really sad. It was amazing. It was filmed really good. I think it was shot. A24 was the production company that put it out. A24 movies are always really good, but the director who directed it was really good. That was like his first big movie, which was surprising because this movie was banger. I really do. Hope you guys go and watch that movie. But this was movie review number 1. I'm tired right now, so if this wasn't the best, that's probably why. Plus, it's a wrestling movie where a bunch of people die, so it's not really like the best first movie to analyze. But I promise you, they'll be getting better and better as I keep doing it. Especially, I'll hopefully get more sleep the next time. But I'll see you guys in the next movie review.